This is part 2 of Kangwoo's story. Our video will begin with a romance, and then with him demonstrating his powers, and finally an excellent fight where he shows his superiority. We stopped at the part where he's looking love-struck, asking for her hand in marriage. She looks shocked, and he realizes he's gotten carried away. So he apologizes and lets go of her hand. Immediately after, he asks about her injury, and she says it was nothing and almost collapses. Kangwoo is quick and catches her in his arms, and she drops her phone. Kangwoo is startled because he recognizes that shape. He looks closely and thinks, a cell phone. And the damsel says, ouch, ouch, and he says he'll give her first aid. Ripping a piece of his cape, he bandages her injured leg and realizes he's speaking English, and she understands. She thanks him for paying attention to her, and he can't take his eyes off her. As he already has the profession of pickpocket, her phone is already in his hand, but not wanting to take anything from a fair lady, he returns the cell phone to her. With a swift glance, he looks at the date on the phone. She says it will be difficult to walk, and he, without much information about this world, asks her, "What are you doing in a place like this?" The beautiful woman replies that she awoke as a player yesterday and was hunting alone in the ranking portal. And he starts to think, awoke, player, and asks her, "So what level are you?" She replies that she is level 6, and asks what level he is, and Kangwoo replies that it's probably lower than hers. She says she has her reasons for being there alone, and he says he also has his reasons. And then she realizes she's in a forest, sitting on the ground next to Kangwoo, and quickly gets up, suggesting they leave. He, like a gentleman, asks again if she's all right, and says, "Let me give you a hand," and says, "So where are we going?" Kangwoo is happy because after 10,000 years he talked to a person. Arriving at the entrance, he is astonished by the size of the portal. She looks at him, smiles, and says, "Let's go now." And he notices that the portal is a spatial rift, and that there is no mechanism sustaining that rift. And going through this type of portal for the first time, he is amazed by what he is seeing. He soon begins to see people asking for members for random groups, warrior with shield, mage, but they just don't want rogues. Kangwoo only sees people with a mouth and nose and no tentacles. Kangwoo thinks, it's full of humans. Trembling with happiness, Kangwoo begins to cry because he really managed to return. And the cute girl had an idea of how to thank him for being rescued. She bows and asks Kangwoo to go home with her. And since it's been 10,000 years without anything, he gets scared and thinks silly things. And she is really very grateful for having been saved by him. And Kangwoo can't stop having dirty thoughts. Suddenly, 2 soldiers say, "You two wait a moment, come here." And they say they need to confirm their identities. The cute girl says, "Just a moment, let me get my ID." And Kangwoo thinks, here is no way, I'm going to have to use that. And uses another stolen power, Authority of the Blind of the Demon Dentalion. This ability manipulates the target's perception and vision. And so the soldier confirmed their identities and then let them pass. Arriving at the apartment where she lives, she warns Kangwoo that they don't have an elevator and they will have to climb the stairs. And Kangwoo is very happy making an initial reconnaissance of the old building. And notices the smell of an old building, narrow stairs, cold handrail, and dusty window. And he was even happier because it is Alice's house. Alice is the name of the beautiful girl. At her house, Kangwoo starts to think a lot of silly things. And his unhappy face is very funny when she says, "Mom!" The girl doesn't live alone. She lives with her mother. The mother asks if her daughter did what she told her, going there with the group. The daughter lies and says yes. Then the daughter shows Kangwoo saying that he helped her in a very difficult situation. Look at his Mineta face thinking he was going to get something else. The mother thanks him for saving her daughter and says she doesn't know how to repay him, inviting Kangwoo in. Still with a Mineta-like face, he thanks her. The mother goes to the kitchen and asks for her daughter's help, and only now does she notice that there were many messages from her mother. Then Kangwoo remembers the cell phone and that he needs more information about this world. Afterward, he lies blatantly, saying he lost his phone and asking if he could borrow hers. She lends it to him and says the food will be ready soon. Returning after 10,000 years, everything seemed very interesting to him. I bet he'll check the final chapter of One Piece, but he's focused and goes for information instead of gossip. He disappeared in 2018 and has now returned in the year 2023. He was in hell for 10,000 years, returning in time 5 years after his disappearance. He read a message about the 22nd of February, 2018, the day of the calamity. Several portals opened all over the world and firearms were useless against them, and humanity united against the monsters. After that, the first player appeared in the United States, and countless players appeared all over the world. Seeing the date, he remembers that this was the day he was taken to hell. And he wonders if he was sucked into a portal that day, but realizes it's all speculation. Alice says, "The food is ready!" Kangwoo couldn't believe what he was seeing. This is! The girl didn't know, but she made the dish he had been wanting to eat for 10,000 years, kimchi stew. "Let's eat!" He grabs a spoon, dives into the soup, and kimchi! Upon eating the first spoonful, he can't say anything else, and they look astonished at the sounds he was making. And Kangwoo starts eating non-stop, and without saying anything else, devouring the food. Kangwoo spent 10,000 years in hell. The only thing he ate during that time was demon flesh, and he had to eat many demons to survive. Demon flesh doesn't satiate and has a horrible garbage-like taste. He ate, and the only thing that kept him sane was the desire to return home. And he did everything to return to Earth. Crying with joy, he couldn't believe he was back and eating what he wanted so much. The mother and the girl look at him in astonishment because he was crying. And he says, "Alice, truly, your food was delicious." And she, embarrassed, says, "Thank you." And she apologizes that this was the only food she could give him. And asks, "Was it good?" He said yes, and asks, "Can I have seconds?" And devours another bowl. And since he was eating non-stop, she decided to bring the pot closer to him. Now he has a Luffy-like face while eating. But suddenly the apartment door is destroyed, and mother and daughter look on in astonishment as someone very angry has just entered. And a strong guy appears at the door yelling for Alice. And the hothead enters yelling at Alice, saying she can't enter the portal on her own. She gets very angry and tells him to get out. He can't believe she had the nerve to say that to him. Then she yells, "I told you to get out, Taehyun." And he starts to think, this crazy woman is kidding me. Does she think she's something just because she became a player? And he makes fun of her. He gets angry and punches a large hole in the wall, saying that his level is far superior to hers. She yells at him not to come near. "You must be missing Kangwoo. Me too, what could he be doing?" Back to our story. Taehyun glares at her mother, who trembles with fear and starts humiliating her family, saying that her father died early and her mother earns pennies. And Alice yells that her family is like this because of him. And Taehyun says, "Forget it," grabs her by the arm and drags her to the door. And tells him to let her go, because she will never go to that trash guild. And laughing at her, he says he's going to put her on a very good team. Then she shows how to fight when you don't have much strength, and bites him. And he slaps her in the face. The girl's mother becomes desperate and comes running to help her. And he calls her a bitch, asks if she thinks she's going to survive just by doing good deeds, and says more, "You should have come calmly as my tribute. You think you are a player? Then let's face each other for real." And her mother stands between the two. I was left wondering if this guy is this lady's son and Alice's brother. Alice's mother, taking his hand, begs him to stop. The arrogant Taehyun says, "Let go of me, old woman," and then slaps the old woman in the face. Alice is desperate and goes to help her mother. Taehyun yells that annoying people like them are always like this. And Alice glares at Taehyun. And he says, "What are you going to do staring at me like that, you weakling? You are weak, and I am a second stage awakened. Do you think you have a chance? Then come at me. You are not strong, and the only thing you have is a pretty face." And Taehyun says, "I am giving you an order. You are going to join my guild." But suddenly, Taehyun begins to notice the surroundings and see our hero eating like tea here is no tomorrow. And Taehyun says, "What the hell is this?" A fight inside the house and Kangwoo just eating. Then Taehyun lets go of her face and goes towards our hero. And says, "Do you think this is some famous restaurant?" And Kangwoo just keeps eating. And Taehyun exclaims, "Bastard can't even read the atmosphere." Taehyun starts to get our hero's attention, but is completely ignored. "Let Kangwoo eat." Taehyun scratches his head and kicks the table, yelling loudly, "You bastard." And Kangwoo freezes, watching everything fly. Imagine what's going to happen. After 10,000 years without eating decent food, someone kicks your food. The hero despairs, seeing all his food on the floor. Taehyun, looking down, asks, "What's up with this idiot?" Taehyun asks the girl where she found this beggar. The hero starts to cry, seeing his food on the floor, and soon Taehyun approaches to kick him in the ribs. Kangwoo, Supreme Lord of the 9 Hells, and he looks at Taehyun, already exuding a demonic aura. Taehyun is startled to see that. "How dare you!" exclaims Kangwoo. And Taehyun sees the time of our hero in demon form. Kangwoo says, "How dare you spill my kimchi stew?" Taehyun's fear passes, and he starts to get angry and prepares a serious punch full of mana. And with little fires coming out of his hand, he thinks he must have seen something wrong, that he must be imagining things. Suddenly, someone hits his hand with a spell, and he looks around, asking who did that stupid thing. And we saw that it was Alice, yelling for our hero to run away. But she has no idea how angry Kangwoo is. Kangwoo gets up and advances on Taehyun, and she looks blank, not understanding what is happening. Taehyun is surprised by Kangwoo's speed, and soon realizes he's going to be hit on his left side. And Taehyun is surprised as Kangwoo faints and then delivers a knee strike. Taehyun recovers and tries to counter Kangwoo. And Kangwoo delivers a strong punch to his face and follows up with a kick, breaking 2 of Taehyun's ribs. Taehyun grabs Kangwoo's leg, saying that it didn't even hurt, and tries to punch Kangwoo again. But once again, he is countered by the hero. Taehyun's nose is bloody, but he still hasn't given up and tries again to land a serious punch to Kangwoo's head. But he takes another rib-breaking punch and falls to all fours in pain with several broken ribs and asks himself, who is this person? But Kangwoo has only just begun his massacre and steps hard on the arrogant Taehyun's head. But Taehyun still hasn't given up. Neither has Kangwoo, thrusting the authority blade into Taehyun's arm and speaks close to Taehyun's ear. "Stop the drama, you brat. I am not done yet. This is all for you ruining the kimchi stew." Taehyun is surprised and asks why he's doing this just for kimchi stew. He lifts him by the hair and says, "Just. You said just kimchi stew?" Taehyun is already terrified, knowing things will go badly. And again, Kangwoo slams his face into the ground with all his might and slams his head on the ground once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 10 times. And seething with rage, Kangwoo says, "Hey, Taehyun, when I say 1, you'll say kimchi stew is. And when I say 2, you'll say a sacred food. And yell it. 1. Clichés." But Taehyun forgets to yell, and Kangwoo buries the blade deep into his arm. 2. A sacred food. No, you are doing it all wrong. You have to yell. Like you were praying to God. Like you were trying to win a girl's heart. And Kangwoo yells at Taehyun. Yell with all your might and with great pride. "Kimchi stew is a sacred food," Taehyun yells. And Kangwoo, like a good torturer, says it's horrible, and let's go again. And Taehyun, with broken ribs, a bleeding arm, a broken tooth, a bleeding nose, gathers all his strength and yells, "Kimchi stew is a sacred food." Kangwoo is satisfied and removes the blade from Taehyun's arm. Now the scene from the beginning is reversed. It's Kangwoo who is standing and Taehyun on the ground, and Kangwoo says, "Never underestimate kimchi stew again in your life." Taehyun, crying, mumbles, "Who is this psychopath?" If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe, and share. Write in the comments part 3 and I'll bring part 3. And if you could please subscribe because it takes a lot of work to make these videos. See you in the next video.